All right, a good place to begin our discussion this morning, and I'm joined by Boni Khalwale, former senator for Kakamega County. We have Eseli Simiyu, member of parliament from Tongaren, and Kimani Wamatangi, senator for Kiambu County. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming. I hope you're not blocked on the roads. Incidentally, when I left home this morning, I saw a lot of people on the road because they were trying to beat, the time. Yesterday, there was a lot of time wasted, but this morning we're getting that breaking news that the Nairobi governor has lifted the ban. Incidentally, after the court declined to do it, I just want your comments on this, because there's a lot of sentiments going around the way this was done. One, they say it was hurried. He says it was a gazette notice last year, 2017, that was supposed to be implemented. The national government was aware, because that's the reason why we saw a lot of policemen also on the road, because they don't fall under the county government. And this morning he has lifted it. And already people are seeing political capital in this. Where do I begin?
How does he create the problem, then lift it and hope to gain marks?
Mileage.
To gain bonga points. I mean, I think what has happened is an illustration of how we Kenyans do things the wrong way. A decision to ban the public transport from town can only be effective if you've put in alternatives. I'm aware, it's even in the newspapers here, that the World Bank had actually given a loan of close to 30 billion 6 years ago on how to help with mass transit and so on and so forth, and light rail. These are things that should have been effected first before you ban matatus from the CBD. Because remember, when you ban matatus from the CBD, you are not just exposing the Kenyans to long walks, but you are also exposing them to danger, in the sense that when they come from work late and they have to trek all the way, they are exposed to thuggery and all sorts of things. So I think we do have a problem in the CBD, but the method of solving it is the problem. Just like you see this two-third gender rule and issues of gender parity, we have that problem, and the solution is staring at us, but we want to go the difficult way of trying to increase the numbers in Parliament and the Senate. Instead of just going for proportional representation, then you don't have any problem at all, and you reduce the cost of elections. So what I'm seeing here with the ban on matatus is the typical Kenyan way of trying to solve a problem without exercising the mind.
So it was not well thought about?
It was not well thought out. And in any case, what has happened 6 years since World Bank gave a loan of over 30 billion shillings to help with decongesting the city, to help with mass transit and things like those, light rail and all that. What has happened on that?
Probably there's no concrete plan that can use that money, so...
I think it's because it's World Bank money, and being World Bank money, eating it is very difficult. That's why they're not implementing, because there are no avenues to eat it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Boni?
I think it is advisable that the team of Governor Sonko spends time reading. If they quickly read, they would find out that decongesting of cities has never been solved by focusing on the vehicles that go into the city or come out of the city. The primary response to decongest Nairobi is to address the infrastructure. While over, the infrastructure that decongests all cities is introduction of rapid mass transport system. In some other countries it's called metro, others it's called a subway, in others it's called a tube. So until you introduce this in Nairobi, you're not going to succeed in any way. The other realization they should come to terms with is that decongestion is something that will take years, because to do the subway is very expensive. It will include overhauling the nature of the roads in Nairobi, up to and including the construction of interchanges. You need an interchange at Uhuru Highway, University Way, roundabout. You would need probably another interchange at Bunyala Road, and so on, so as to decongest Nairobi. I remember in my second term as a member of parliament, The government brought a request to Parliament, which we approved, that we allow the government to borrow money so that the road from the airport all the way to Ayaki would have a double-decker road, and the money was available because the requirement was that the law be passed to allow concessioneering of that road, so that whoever will construct the road would then build, operate, and transfer later on by charging a small commission. Okay. So I want to advise them that this is not going to work if they do not address the problem with a long-term vision of how to best solve it. Okay. And they do not have to invent the wheel. This has been done successfully in many other countries. Since, by the way, many centuries ago, subway was introduced in London in the 1800s. So it is not something that they say they think very hard. It's just to copy and paste.
Okay. Okay. And do you recall about 4 years ago when Governor Kidero also attempted with the Kidero ramps, and in 3 days they were out of the roads?
Yes.
That was also a knee-jerk reaction.
Exactly. Yes. It must be well thought out, be budgeted for, and for those ones who want to become presidents after serving as governors, it would be nice for them to know that in Mexico, which Mexico City has got a population of 20 million people plus. The governor of Mexico City became president of Mexico, of the Republic of Mexico, purely by succeeding at decongesting Mexico City. Okay. It's a big thing. Okay. The country responded by giving him an opportunity to be their president. Okay.
Yeah. Senator, don't you think that this, if you look at what Governor Kidero did and now what Governor Sonko is doing, it's a real commitment. They really want to decongest the capital. It's just that they don't have the idea of how to do it.
Yeah, first and foremost, Ken, let me first say good morning to our viewers and wish them a good day too. Ken, yesterday when news of this broke out, and in the course of the day, as you saw in one of the clips that you ran there, I was with Governor Sonko, and I was chairing a committee session in Parliament, in which he was appearing in, and we had an opportunity to discuss this matter with him. He raised a few issues that I think are worth considering. But then, on the other hand, I believe what my colleagues here have said is right. See, Ken, first we have to look at probably all the what kind of approaches have been used in previous occasions and in other capitals. For example, in Singapore, they have a system whereby through different registration numbers, they allow this registration number at these days of the week. These are the one. In London, they have measures instituted where they charge higher for vehicles to enter the CBD, you know, and various other restrictions.
In Beijing, they do the same.
Absolutely, and all those are measures. But one of the most important things that Kenyans need to know is that this work started a long time ago. And the problem, in my view, Ken, and I'm saying that from a point of information because I'm the chairman of Roads and Transport in Senate. And so I've had an opportunity to engage quite a lot with some of the entities and agencies, including an agency like Namata, the ministry itself. If you look at, ask yourself, when did we build the Muthurwa bus terminal? When was Westlands built? How long ago? When was Ngara completed? And why was that being done? The intention then was to come up with measures to decongest the city. Remember that we also had the upgrading or the renewal, if you want to call it, of the commuter rail from Syokimau. It's now being done from Embakasi, Iroiro, and so on. Now the problem we have been having is, one, the pace at which all those joint efforts have moved at, and two, the harmonization of it. Because as Boni says, it is ultimately true that this cannot be successful at all if it is left to either of all the entities involved. The ministry cannot be able to implement it on its own to the exclusion of the county government, neither the agencies like Namata. And I believe what is required now, and the information that Eseli has is correct also, that there has been funding which has been availed for development of the rapid mass transport system within the city. And that is why, for example, even so the ministry trying to implement the BLT on for example, Thika Road.
Yes.
All those are moves that are intended to achieve this. I believe that for us to be able to succeed, and I think this is where Governor Sonko would require then to consult with the other agencies and the ministry, is so that they can all agree that the joint effort must start at the same time with commonality, common action, common thinking, so that then eventually this can be realized. Ultimately, of course, the people suffered a lot, and we have to apologize. I think Governor Mike Sonko, I had consulted with him because as the chairperson of the committee, I had called a consultative meeting for tomorrow between all the stakeholders, including the governor. But then he called me last night, and he confirmed that indeed he was lifting the ban so that they can be able to consult further with the other stakeholders. Yes. I think the way forward is for heads to be put together. Of course, people do not have to be subjected to that kind of suffering, and I believe that's the motivation that led him to make that decision.
Yes.
We should act in concert. At the end of the day, the people will get what they want. The city will be decongested. It's a better city that way. But also, of course, we have to be mindful of how we affect Kenyans.
Okay.
Ultimately.
Because we have just a few minutes before we begin our discussion on people and politics, I'd just like to throw this panel into the works with a question here. What happened to the 24-hour economy? Because one of the reasons that have been given is we all come to town at the same time and we all want to live at the same time. Yeah. Necessitating all these people to be inside town, all the vehicles. What happened to 24 hours economy?
You know,
Mheshimiwa Eseli.
Soon after independence and a few years thereafter, the chief planner for Nairobi City was one Land Stuma from somewhere in Kakamega County, Nabaholo or something. And eventually he was frustrated on tribal reasons, and he relocated and went and took charge of Harare after Zimbabwe's independence, and eventually ended up in Cape Town before he died. And that is what, we don't put the right people where they should be so they can actually do the work. We use other yardsticks when we employ people in critical areas. In this country, we do have experts who can sit down and solve this problem for us. But perhaps, one, they come from the wrong tribe, two, they're in the wrong party or something of the sort, so we don't utilize the brains that we have in this country. And it's very interesting that when Lance Tuma went to Harare after Zimbabwe's independence, he actually maintained Harare city planning program so well that there was hardly any congestion in Harare by the time he relocated to Cape Town. So yet he was in Nairobi City Council before, and we just kicked him out. So these are the things that we need to re-examine. I don't think Kenya lacks expertise on what needs to be done here. Mm-hmm. And the funds are not lacking. The World Bank has put 30 billion on the table for the last 6 years. In fact, I'm surprised they have not withdrawn it yet. So it's not that there's no money, it's not that there's no expertise, it's the will to do the right thing and put the right people where they can actually deliver. Okay. That is our main problem.
Okay. Yeah. But on the question of 24-hour economy?
But that's what I was trying to answer. Yes. The issue of 24-hour economy will only arise when you have planned your city well. Okay. Then you can actually have a 24-hour economy. Okay. If you have not planned your city well, then how possible do you have a 24-hour
But we can start with what we have currently, like the government departments.
I think the only 24-hour economy I see in the city is nightclubs.
Yes, then it means we can start from where we can.
Ken,
Senator.
Yes, Ken. The whole concept of a 24-hour economy was and can only be fully supported if we continue with what had started with the metropolis, the Nairobi metropolis, because it's very hard economically thinking. It's very hard to sustain an economy within an isolated hub that you call a 24-hour economy. It's supported by satellite economies around it. And for example, if there was continued development, ease and opening of those satellite areas, for example, like in places like Ngong, in Kajiado, around the way there in Machakos, at the end of Kiambu, Murang'a, and so on, and all around that metropolis. And not only, speaking of metropolis, because we've had this discussion before, not only centrally thinking that metropolis can only be within Nairobi. The other metropolis that can be also developed and grown around this country. I think the side of Western, there was that plan also. I think around Mombasa. If you want to have a 24-hour economy, you must support also the other economies around what you would call your sun. Okay. So that then the stars revolving around it that's what supports it. Otherwise, how would a 24-hour economy in the city thrive if Machakos is dead, if Kajiado is dead, if Kiambu is dead? Yes. I think the whole concept of the metropolis, and that's if you look at, for example, like in New York. That's what happens. The city is a 24-hour economy because in New Jersey it supports what's happening. People are living in New Jersey, some doing business, transferring to New York, and that's what makes an economy tick and grow towards that round the clock economy. Okay. Yeah.
So in other words, Boni, we have to be very deliberate if we have to succeed in this.
Yes and no. Yes, because of the reasons advanced by my colleagues, but no for the following reason. That really what makes people not do business during the night cycle of a 24-hour economy is the issue of security. So if the government was to step up security to assure business people and consumers that it is secure to do work at night, people will work. So we don't have to wait for all the things that my colleagues have said before we make Nairobi a 24-hour economy. After all, I come from a place where we have a little town called Luanda. Luanda has got a 24-hour economy. Mm-hmm. Yes, they have the red light activities that one of Eseli has referred to, but they also have robust transport. Mama Mbogas work 24 hours time. So there are those ones who have the early shift, the ones who have the late shift, and so on. And it works. It is possible to do it. Okay. And now that the border industry has revolutionized transport, has made it even easier for 24-hour economy of Luanda in Vihiga County. It is doable. We don't have to wait. The government must step up security, and to that extent, the county government of Nairobi should now be given some degree of presiding over security, so that it augments the national security to make the 24-hour economy realistic.
All right, gentlemen, it's almost the top of the hour. We take a break, but we have a lot to discuss. We want to talk about the story that is on the front page of the Star. This is a story about the Raila team asking for a one-term president. This is a proposal that was also put forward by a lot of other people, but top of my mind over the weekend, Kiraitu Murungi, who I believe is an insider, who I believe has been on this road for a long time, also talked about the abolishment of the presidential system and a consideration of the parliamentary system. I also want to talk about what Boni Khalwale is very passionate about, the Western Kenya politics, the fact that Musalia Mudavadi is mooting an alliance with Gideon Moi, and of course they are roping in Kalonzo Musyoka and saying Kalonzo Musyoka needs to join them. It's the winning team. And over the weekend there's a sentiment that came from the deputy president regarding his work. He said that anyone who stands on his way atapita nayo. I'd like to speak about that. And of course we are coming back with AM Live after a few minutes to talk about all that. But the breaking story that is on your screen right now is Governor Mike Sonko has lifted the ban that saw the commuters suffer yesterday with PSVs taken out of town, and of course the commuters had to walk the remaining distance into the CBD or to get to their destination by connecting. As the breaking story on your screen, we're coming back with a soundbite from Mike Sonko as he lifted the ban. He was in his office, because I see the video that has been posted on his Facebook page at around 5:26 to do the lifting to allow the PSVs to access the CBD. We're coming back. Stay with us. AM Live continues in a moment.